Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And guys, we have an awesome show for you today. We will be talking about the defensive free agents that are going to be available. Some of them will be available. Some of them won't be. We'll get into all of that shortly. Before we get into that, we have two major NFL topics we have to talk about. The first one's an easy one, right? J.J. Watt gets signed to the Arizona Cardinals, 2-year deal, $31 million. I think it was, $21 million guaranteed?
Yeah.
Good deal for him. Kind of a surprise. Not a team that anybody was looking at. For everything that we heard, at least, was that J.J. Watt really wanted to go to a contender, and Arizona is on their third year of the rebuild. I mean, this is supposed to be the year. 2021 is supposed to be the year where they should be contending. Not a team that I would have circled and said, oh, that's a contender. That's where we need to go. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, contender isn't the word yet.
Yeah.
They are an up-and-coming. They are, I would say, Buffalo of 2 years ago now. Like when you look at how the promise and, okay, all the pieces are here now. You know, they're missing a few things on defense, but the offense, if Kyler's able to make those steps, should be really good. You have DeAndre Hopkins. You know, there's a lot of good things going. You are also in the NFC West that is just, I mean, on a tear right now. Yeah. The Rams addition of Matt Stafford is, I think that's really going to propel the Rams even further than what they already were in that division. Add in a healthy 49ers team. It just contradicts kind of what I thought JJ was doing with the whole contender vibe on it. I see what it was. I see the reuniting with D-Hops and all that. That's good, and the good culture. Maybe they can piece it together. But out of 2 years, is Arizona going to get a Super Bowl?
Yeah,
it would be surprising.
It
would be extremely surprising.
If you made me rank teams 1 to 32 on likelihood of winning a Super Bowl in the next 2 years, I mean, they wouldn't have been in my top 10, probably not even my top 15.
Yeah, they're fortunate enough to be in the NFC that is so much turnover. And
there's a lot.
There's a chance, because if they were in the AFC, it'd be like, you're not getting through the Chiefs.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just that, you know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, that was my first reaction as well. There were rumors, and I want to bring this up really quick because I think it's interesting. There were things that came out from a guy in Arizona, and I don't have his name up here, or I'd give that information as well. But he reported that J.J. Watt actually took less money than what the Colts and the Browns offered, right? And there are conflicting reports on that now. It doesn't really make sense that like the Colts, especially just with everything we know about their GM and the way they've run their organization over the past couple of years. I mean, they're not. They don't make sense as the team that would have tried to overpay for J.J. Watt. Although they have the money, they could have. And I'm not saying those reports are dead wrong. I'm just saying I wonder if this was the best deal J.J. Watt could get, or if this was a true, hey, we're taking less money to go to a team we really believe in. I just can't imagine that, like, if you're going to take less money to go to a team, why wouldn't you go to the Bills?
That's the weird part about it. Why not go to your hometown in Green Bay, go back to Wisconsin, you know? So there's a lot of different things. It was just like, the Colts especially, I didn't hear one rumor about the Colts until that report came out for me personally. I knew that they were looking to bolster up their defensive line and stuff, but
I'd heard people saying, "Oh, the Colts make sense," but it wasn't like rumors that the Colts were interested.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Anywhere else you want to go on the J.J. Watt thing? I'm excited for him. Their defense is going to look good. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I don't know what J.J. Watt brings.
It shores up our defensive free agent list by one.
Like, and that's a guy I really want to talk about, but we'll get there later. All right, let's move on to the other news. Interesting stuff coming out of Seattle. Russell Wilson. I mean, do you want to break this down? I mean, it's crazy everything that happened.
It's something we mentioned last week, but there wasn't, at the time we record on a Tuesday, it always falls against us to where more news comes out after the fact. So now we actually have to address it. Last Tuesday we were looking at it as a report came out that Russell was upset about how much he gets hit.
Yeah.
And how the Seahawks' inability to kind of build a team around him offensive line-wise mainly. Now, more stuff has come out and said that there are teams that have been named that Russell is not asking for a trade, but if he were to be traded, these are the teams that he would go to.
Yeah.
The Bears, the Cowboys, the Saints, and the Raiders.
Yeah.
All of them have a really good... Except for the Bears. That one was a weird one.
The Bears are weird. The Cowboys are weird because they have Dak, and I get that, maybe they decided to move away from Dak. But, yeah, it's still kind of weird to me. I don't know. It was a weird list, I felt like.
It was. It didn't make any sense. I don't know what he's trying to do. Like, is this he's not on a contract year. He's got the money. He's got all that stuff. I think he's looking at it from a longevity standpoint you just saw Tom Brady win number 7.
Yeah.
You got to stay healthy.
And I have a couple. So first of all, everyone who's watching this, who's really interested in like a deep dive on this subject, go read the Atlantic article that came out. It was like 3 different staff writers put together this article, and it basically detailed, long article, but it details like this riff between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. And I think that's like the root of the issue. I think, you look at Pete Carroll as he runs that team. I mean, you look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks ownership really is kind of hands off with the team for the most part. Ever since their main owner died, who I lost the name on, the daughter came in, and she's mostly hands off. As long as they're making money, there's not going to be a whole lot of issues. Pete Carroll runs that team, and I think Russell Wilson is kind of tired of the old head mentality of run first. Russell Wilson, he's a superstar. He's a superstar, exactly, and he knows he's a superstar. And I think where all of this started was there was a 2-game window this past season where he threw like 7 interceptions in 2 games,
lost him the MVP race.
Exactly, yeah, really did it. Absolutely agree. And once those 2 games happened, Pete Carroll gave up the let Russ cook thing and went back to running the football a lot. They kind of changed their mentality a lot, and it kind of sucks for Russell because it's like, man, I've been good for 5-6 years. However, like I've been a superstar for like this long length of time in the NFL. In 2 games, a couple bad interceptions, and you're just going to give up on me right now, like, or you're going to change like what had been working.
Led to the demise of their season. That's why they were.
I feel like it did.
Exit.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's other aspects to it that I'll add in my own personal opinion about their passing scheme, which was awesome at the beginning of the year, but they didn't add anything to it. There was no evolution to the offensive scheme, passing scheme. That was an issue. And then this is purely my speculation. I want to hear your thoughts. I purposely didn't tell you this. I really believe that not only, obviously, we saw Tom Brady move teams and find a lot of success. So I think that absolutely has a big part of this. But I also look at Rodgers. I look at Aaron Rodgers and his situation with the Packers, where Aaron Rodgers was on a team that didn't seem to want to give him a lot of help. McCarthy felt like he was on autopilot a little bit. The scheme got stale. Things got bad, and it was bad for years before McCarthy was finally kicked out and changes were made. I really believe that situation is something that Russell Wilson has to at least consider, has to be looking at saying, okay, well, I feel like this scheme's get stale. I feel like my rift between my head coach is very bad. And, the big difference being Pete Carroll isn't going anywhere until he wants to go. It doesn't seem like he's going anywhere anytime soon. Mm-hmm. And I think this is Russell Wilson trying to, like, do what Aaron Rodgers didn't. Aaron Rodgers probably should have done 3 years before McCarthy really got kicked out and said, hey, I want to move on. Like, I'm ready to win. I want to be win first, build around me type of team. And I don't know, like that's purely speculation. I haven't heard anything. That just feels like something. It feels like there's connections there that I feel like are worth mentioning.
I can see the correlation between a Mike McCarthy stagnation and a Pete Carroll stagnation. Both had a mini dynasty, I would say. They got their Super Bowl.
Got their ring early.
Many other appearances where they were very competitive in championship games, so on and so forth. But there were certain things schematically that just continuously held back the team. Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers, like you said, 4 years too late, was like, that's when we finally started to hear about the inner rift between Rodgers and McCarthy, and McCarthy got out. Maybe Russ, he seems to be very self-aware.
Yeah, he really does. And listen, I do believe this ends in one. I believe Russell Wilson, I don't know how this ends, but I think Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson aren't going to be together 3 years from now. Like, however this ends, it really feels like, because I know that it's over reaction season in the NFL.
It is,
right? We don't have anything.
With all the Deshaun news.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're gonna overreact to everything, and I understand. Like I think my thoughts a week ago were certainly we're overreacting to this. This isn't a thing. And then honestly, I read this article from the Atlantic, and it just kind of detailed everything, made me think of other things, and it's like, man, I really wonder if this marriage of quarterback and coach is going to stand the test of time.
Well, this is how it starts. I mean, we heard Deshaun years ago voice different concerns about racial inequality in his organization and certain things. That is what started the rift. So there's one of two things that can happen right now with Russ and Pete Carroll. You fix it. Mm-hmm. You have to show Russell that you care about his views, that you're willing to invest in him, and then that could hopefully mend this, and you don't have to deal with a Band-Aid slowly getting ripped off further and further as years go on. Like you said, in 3 years, them maybe not being together.
Yeah.
Or he continues to ignore. They continue this power run attack that just doesn't it doesn't work. They have a really good regular season team, and they're just faltering in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I'm sure eventually, I mean, Russ is starting to get on up there. You know, he's still very much in his prime, has plenty of good years left.
Yeah.
Has to take care of himself. One, they're not doing a good job at that. And he probably wants legacy titles to go alongside of it. And he hasn't gotten that.
He doesn't want just one ring.
Exactly.
And he especially doesn't want the one ring where when he won that ring, they were known for their defense. And,
Yes.
you know, he wants to win the ring. He wants to be the guy. And I think that's fair. Look, I mean, we've seen it both ways. I feel like, at least for me, I'll say this now, I feel like we missed out on something from the McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers era. I feel like there was a span of time where they should have been a dominant force in the NFL.
Yeah.
And we've seen that maybe not go the way it probably could have gone. And then we've seen the exact opposite with the Tom Brady and Belichick marriage, which, you know, we can say a lot about it now. Things go the different ways. They won 6 Super Bowls. They were a dynasty. They were the team. Obviously, Tom Brady moves on and still wins another ring. That's awesome. I'm not taking anything away from that. But I mean, come on. I feel like I like the fact that we're seeing these big name quarterbacks, these big name players say, "Hey, I should have more control over my destiny. I don't care about the money. I'm already paid. I'm paid wherever I go. I want to go win."
It reminds me of the NBA.
Yeah,
NBA,
exactly
NBA
what I was going with
players
it. Yeah,
have huge leverage. I mean, when it comes to them just being like, "Yeah, I need this, or else I'm good," because there will be a team that will give me whatever I want. You know. Hopefully the Seahawks can meet it, because Seattle, you need Russell. I'm sorry. If you lose Russell, and not going into the whole what you would gain out of it, but take Russell away from that team, you're 4-5 win team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe?
Not even close. Yeah, absolutely.
It would be horrendous for you. You take your star budding receiver in DK and give a guy who can't really throw the ball to him as well, because DK, you're a great talent, but you do need help with your route tree and fundamentals on certain aspects.
Helps to have a great quarterback.
Exactly.
Always.
So take that away. You take your whole core and you're like, that defense ain't good.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And listen, I hope it gets fixed. I really do. From the mindset, I want to see DK and Russ for a long time. I'm excited about that. I think DK has the potential to be a top 3 receiver in the league for years to come. I really believe that's his trajectory, and it can be at least.
Exactly.
And Russell Wilson will help that trajectory a whole lot. I want to see that. I love football. I want to see that. Something needs to change. It's interesting. I don't think anything's going to happen this year.
We have to address, though. I just want to get you on the record. Give me the team, if and how.
If and how. Are you saying this year or just in general?
Whatever you think will transpire down the road.
Oh man, I could see. I don't know. I
know in 3 years there's a lot. Like your timetable has a lot going on for it. Yeah. So just make it this offseason then. If something wild were to happen.
If a trade happened this offseason, I could realistically see the Raiders going on. I really could. I could see the Raiders saying, "Hey, we'll push all the chips in the pot. We'll do everything we can to get this guy." And if the thing is, I 100% don't believe this would happen. I don't think the Seahawks will move on from Russ this year. It makes no sense to. And if they were going to move on from Russ, you have to get the second pick in the draft. I feel like you have to get the
nut.
Second or third. And the Dolphins and Jets maybe are in play. I'm sure Russell would definitely consider that, especially with Russell's wife is I'm not a music person, but like Sierra, thank you.
Megastar.
I was like, I don't know her. But she would probably rather live in New York than Seattle, right? Of
course.
So it would make sense if that was a move. The Seahawks could make a trade, grab a Zach Wilson number 2, and it's a downgrade. It's a huge downgrade. But you got picks, and maybe you have a guy who's a little bit more happy to be there than Russ right now. I don't know. That at least I could see that. I guess I don't know.
Raiders for me.
Yeah, Raiders will make a lot of sense.
The trade that I've seen going around too was a Derek Carr, Henry Ruggs, and 2 firsts.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's just like kind of just lining it up, off the rip.
Take our guys. We'll figure it out with Russ. We'll draft another wide receiver. We'll find a way.
If you're the Raiders too, you have to be entertaining this. I mean, of course. I would say every team that got mentioned in the whole Russell sweepstakes now, if we want to call it that, Cowboys, Bears, Raiders. Who was the other one?
The Bears, Raiders, Cowboys. Oh, God, there's a lot of names.
Yeah. You got to go get him.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Any team that's not one of the 5 or 6 teams with an all-star quarterback already, you consider it. I mean, it's the exact same conversation as Deshaun, in my opinion. Deshaun, I think maybe you'd rather have based on age alone. but not really. I mean, in the sense that I think, again, I always say
Russell is a better quarterback right now.
Right, exactly. And teams can't think more than 3 years down the line. Like your lifespan in the NFL is so short from a coaching and GM perspective. You want to think 3 years down the line, that's it. And Russell Wilson has 8 great years ahead of him. I feel like, I don't know. I don't know if age really comes into the conversation. I don't know. All right, so let's move on. That's great. We'll monitor that story just like we're monitoring Deshaun Watson. By the way, on Deshaun Watson, just for a second, really quick, doesn't seem like they want to trade him. Doesn't seem like a move's going to happen anytime soon. Everything we're hearing is that the Texans are not entertaining offers. Yeah. Looks like pretty much every team that we've heard, Carolina has made some pushes. The Dolphins have made some pushes. These are all rumors. Nothing's for sure. We don't know anything anybody else doesn't know. But it's interesting, man. I think the Texans will lose out on a lot of. They're going to lose their entire fan base if Deshaun Watson just sits. Deshaun Watson does have all the power, and they're going to lose out on a lot of potential assets if they try and trade him, a month before the season starts.
If he sits any into the season, it shows other players, free agency wise, landing spot. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go to the Texans. They don't give a damn about me.
And really, what Deshaun should do is go but don't play. You know what I mean? We saw Harden do it in the exact same town. We've seen Ramsey do it in the NFL with the Jags. You show up, you can't get fined if you show up and just go every single play, throw it into the dirt every time.
Yeah,
until you trade me.
Job and then
that'll get you traded. I'm just saying, if you got a guy who really doesn't want to be there, man, you just gotta deal with that. It is what it is. All right, let's move on. Defensive players, defensive free agents. I'll let you start it off because you put this list. I put the offensive list together. You put this list together. So I'm excited to pick it apart here.
So for this free agency class, if we want to call it that, this is absolutely jacked on pass rush talent. Mm-hmm. So Tennessee Titans, listen, because you missed it last year with Jadeveon, who is back on this list right here, and I really don't value him as high as other people would, just because we saw that experiment fail horribly.
The Bills are another one. They need to add.
Bills got a new pass rush, and you have I would say 10 really good names on this list. Mm-hmm. I could argue a little bit more for 12. Just depends when you talk about top tier starter in the league. Mm-hmm. Age, of course, it hurts a lot of them. I'll start it with the best one, and whenever I did the list, I just left it blank, but I know who it is. It's Von Miller. Von Miller is an absolute stud. Oh, yeah. I think he's not on the list.
Okay, I don't know if I deleted it on accident.
No, you're good. I think Von Miller, at 31 years old, yes, it's injury problems, yes, I understand all of that, but send the man to a contender. I think he's in the same boat as a J.J. Watt when it comes to this all-star, superstar, Hall of Famer that can go to another team and really contribute. Buffalo Bills, you are on the clock.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
I agree. Von Miller's in the exact same boat for me as a J.J. Watt, and is he a little bit younger, or is he the same age as J.J.?
I think he's technically younger.
Okay, yeah. Feels like Von fallen off a little bit more than JJ did. JJ surprised the hell out of me this past year. He was playing pretty well. For the I like that name. Again, we're not going to try and point players to teams because it's just
there's so much that can go on, but
you just never know. Like, we could have talked about JJ Watt for an entire hour last week. We wouldn't have gotten to Arizona. So what's the point of just trying to make these guesses?
Exactly.
At least I wouldn't have gotten to Arizona.
Are you wanting me kind of just rapid fire into tier 1 category?
Yeah, give me the tier 1s, and I'll kind of.
Yeah, I would say we could throw in a Shaq Barrett right there. Leonard Williams, Yannick Ngakoue, Melvin Ingram, Dalvin Tomlinson, Carl Lawson, Jadeveon Clowney, Bud Dupree, Leonard Floyd, Matthew Judon. That's where I wrap it.
That's all tier 1 for you.
Okay, maybe tier 1 is too broad of a term.
Yeah.
Those are
some big names.
Those are Pro Bowl potential defensive linemen.
Yeah, I stand by that. I agree with that. Now I do want to point out, because some people mentioned this last week on our pod. We didn't make it clear. We were talking about everybody that could be a free agent, because as of right now, there can still be tags. There, like, a lot of these guys could still be retained. So we're just
Shaq Barrett should be.
Yeah, we're just talking about everybody that could be a free agent and the possibilities there. So I want to make that clear before we move on. Shaq Barrett would have been my number 1. That's the first thing I'll mention.
Age included, right?
Yeah. 28 years old. He deserves to get paid. He has played awesome for the past 2 years, got tagged this past year, could get tagged again, and I wouldn't blame them if they did, because Shaq Barrett was a huge piece of that defense. Now, obviously, JPP gets a lot of the credit for that, but
they got some people they got to pay, man.
They do. They have a lot of people they got to pay. I don't know how it's going to work out. They're not going to be able to retain everybody. It's crazy how loaded that team was. Really. They're not going to be able to pay everybody. This Shaq Barrett could be the guy that goes, and it wouldn't shock me. His name value isn't quite as high as some of these other guys, and again, Shaq Barrett, the problem is every single guy on this list, I'm going to point to the Bills because the Bills seem like their fatal flaws. They couldn't get after the quarterback.
They will get one of these guys because I don't think they had a guy eclipse over 5 sacks on their entire team last season. So you have to be able to fix that. All of these guys right here are very well capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Dalvin Tomlinson, not so much. He is your run stuff, defensive tackle, big boy.
Yeah.
But he is an instant plug and play, and he can help you out in the run game tremendously. My personal favorite on the list, not saying he is the best, saying age-wise, though, and potential going forward, is Carl Lawson. He has been a silent killer in Cincinnati for a long time. Him alongside Geno Atkins been doing great things. Carl Lawson is 26 years old. This is his big payday. Stop. Don't say it.
He only likes him for one reason, guys.
Don't say it. No.
He's an Auburn boy.
I genuinely like Carl Lawson and his drive. Yeah. The dude works his ass off.
I would 100% agree.
He doesn't get the same respect that he deserves.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Yeah, no, I 100% agree on that. Carl Lawson's a great player. I look at a Yannick Ngakoue as a name that's like, man.
No.
Okay, tell him why you're saying that. Tell him why.
He did not like Minnesota.
Minnesota
doesn't like him.
He didn't like Minnesota, or he didn't perform in Minnesota?
Man, he sucked,
bro.
He
did suck.
He sucked. It was horrible.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Traded away a 2nd-round pick, and then 2 weeks we flip him again for a 3rd. We just took the L before it got any worse.
Oh man, that's crazy. It's crazy to think about because I remember this time last year I was singing the praises of Yannick Ngakoue.
I thought we were killing it. I thought it was like, okay,
he's
the last
dude.
year 8-8 year was a little fluky. You know, we didn't make it, but let's get this defensive interior going. Let's see Kirk. Let's see this. And Yannick, when he played, had no drive.
Underperformed.
He had no passion.
Very weird. Very, very, very strange. Because I stand by what I saw in Jacksonville. Like, this is not just me saying, like, he was awesome in Jacksonville. At least, you know. So it is what it is. We'll see. He's gonna have to take a bargain bin deal and prove that he can be the dude again. Be interesting to see what happens there. Melvin Ingram, another guy who got paid.
I don't think the Chargers are keeping him.
Yeah, I don't think so either. He's a name that, like, again, he's always been kind of connected to Joey Bosa. So you wonder, like, how much help was he getting from Joey Bosa being on the other side of him? I've always thought he was a great player. You know, we'll see what happens there. Jadeveon Clowney, another name that we talked about with
cheap deal.
Yeah, with
$8 million,
Yannick,
I think.
Yeah, but I was comparing him to Yannick Ngakoue as a guy who just kind of underperformed where he went. Very, very interesting. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Jadeveon. I don't know what to expect from him.
That's why I'm saying Yannick and Jadeveon really didn't get what they were looking for. You know, you hit free agency for 1 year. Add in the fact that the cap's going down, because we said that last week, so I don't just want to, beat it to death, but the cap is going down.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these deals are not going to be as multi-year as they could be because the players aren't probably wanting to do that. They're probably wanting to weather the storm, get another good 1 to 2 year free agency deal so you can hit another re-upped market in a few years. Because if you get locked down for 4 to 5 right now, it's probably going to be a little underwhelming for what you would think, at least in your first 1 to 2 years on that. Jadeveon's going to have to go somewhere. Titans, I don't know if you would want him back. I'm not going to sit here and say he's useless. This past year, he was near that. I just don't know what was wrong with him. I think COVID and preparation were a big thing for him.
And I will say, because I compared him to Yannick, they're different types of players. Like they play the same position,
You're saying overwhelmed.
Yeah, overall just lack of production. Underwhelming. Yeah. Overall underwhelming. Jadeveon, look, I still think he can be a great player. I think injuries does play a big part in this. It's just he's never going to hit what we thought he could be in that first overall pick, and all the guys that were drafted behind him that have outperformed him, even though he was. At the time that year, he was supposed to be the ultimate of the ultimate. You know, I think we still all remember that South Carolina hit. Exactly. You know, so yeah. We've seen
flashes. You know,
we have.
I would like to see a Titans remarriage for a cheaper deal, just because. Yeah. I really don't know if there's another team that's going to be chomping at the bit compared to all these other names that you could have. Yeah. Bud Dupree, younger. You see some really good film on him, too.
Bud Dupree is a great guy. Bud Dupree gets hurt in week 12, right? If he doesn't get hurt, he'd be getting a massive contract this year. Now, the only issue with that is, will Bud Dupree come back to the Steelers for 1 year just to try and prove, like, oh, I got hurt? It sucks to be at this position, and it's like you break your leg or you get hurt, you have one of these serious injuries, and teams can just offer you $5 or $6 million less per year than you deserve.
Yeah, that's weird how that works. You're going to have to prove it, and it's a win-win for the team. Cheap deal, so even if he doesn't, you win. If he does, look what you just got for the bargain price. Yeah.
And then, especially if he moves on and goes to another team, then you get the compensation pick because he went and signed a big deal. There's a lot of ways that can work.
Like the New England Patriots.
Yeah, that's how
we
got
to mention Leonard Williams too. He's really high on my list.
Yeah.
I think he is a superstar in the making. I mean, maybe already made in a way.
Yeah,
I
he
think,
is.
Yeah,
I feel like
a lot of people don't put him up there though.
Yeah.
Because when you think that's why I'm going to take away tier 1. Tier 1 is like an Aaron Donald-esque vibe.
Yeah.
But when you look at this list of the names all together, though, I mean, if you're able to get a top-end starter, a guy who can play
I get what
a
you're
1
saying
through
with
3
that.
down,
Yeah.
well, I just don't want him to take it out of context and be like, oh, this guy is not a top 10 defensive lineman. That's not what I'm saying by that. I'm saying that some of these guys can be immediate impact players, immediate production, and they can help you out tremendously.
Yeah, and Leonard Floyd, I feel like is the same kind of situation.
Leonard Floyd is an unsung hero.
Yeah, he's an unsung, but he gets drafted high. He didn't perform well early, and people kind of write him off. He's still a really good player. We have to remember that, especially over the past 2 years, he's been awesome. I want to talk about some other guys on your list. Did you mention Matthew Judon in your tier 1, or was that your cutoff?
I put Matthew Judon there solely because he has a Pro Bowl year under his name.
Yeah, Matthew Judon he's an interesting name because I feel like he's one of those guys. He needs to go to the right defense. Like he fits in this like weird kind of I play on the D end, but I also kind of go around in linebacker.
Needs to stay in Baltimore.
Yeah, I really do too. It would be interesting to see if Baltimore's willing to keep him. I think Baltimore knows what they have in Matthew Judon, and they're not going to overpay for him.
Exactly.
I think it was smart to give him the tag. And it was actually cool what Judon did is he actually took the midway point between what a linebacker gets and what a DN gets, so he could get a little bit of that DN money because he plays on the defensive line a lot. But he's really like a roaming OLB, you know?
Exactly. That's the thing. You can't just plug this guy in any system and work.
Exactly.
But when Judon is in the right environment, Pro Bowl.
He'll be good. Yeah. Dolphins is a team where I expect it. Now, look, I'm a Dolphins fan, so I always look at this list and it's like, who do I want? Hassan Reddick, and you didn't mention him. Hassan Reddick, this is a guy who gets drafted in the first round by the Arizona Cardinals, plays out of position, plays stand-up linebacker for 3.5 years, 2.5 years, however long it was, 3.5 years actually, and finally gets moved over to like DN, what he played in college, and was a wrecking ball. Actually played really, really well. Hassan Reddick is a name for me that like he's my number 1 pick for the Dolphins to go grab because he fits perfectly in a similar kind of mold as a Matthew Judon. He can stand up and play some OLB, you know, here and there, but you're not going to sit him in a 4-3 defense and let him stand up linebacker the entire time. That's not what he does. He's just this roaming linebacker type. I think he would fit perfectly in Miami Dolphins. That's like my pick. If there are any Dolphins fans out there, like I'm hoping that we get him, especially after we just cut Kyle Van Noy because we wanted to save some money.
This was the last year. A little bit on that. This was the last year you had to do that, right? Like, because I know you just signed him, so you're not eating a lot, right?
Yeah. We saved like $9 million.
That's why you did it because it would have gotten progressively worse. Okay.
Just to touch on that really quick, Kyle Van Noy, who will be on this list when we talk about true linebackers, he was a really good player for the Dolphins. We only cut him to save $9 million. I think that's, and honestly, I think if it wasn't a COVID year where the cap was going down, we probably would have paid him.
Yeah,
because he was absolutely worth it. He played great. There wasn't like a drop off in talent.
I'll go on with some of these. Some of this tier out guys. Alden Smith is making a return to football. So promising. So many off the field issues though that just make you scratch your head and wonder what the hell is going on. Maybe there's a place and a place he can find on the field and be productive like we thought he could and was for a while. Yeah, Jarrell Casey. That's a good name. It is an older name. I would like to think of a remarriage with the Titans again, but it went so south so quick, and they played week 1. It's just so.
It's weird. Yeah. Look, I know Titans fans took that really personally, and I get it.
Man, they hated
the trade, and they hated the Jarrell Casey took it personally. Man, there's a reason he got cut. The reason he was traded for a 7th round pick is because he was going to get cut if he wasn't traded. The Denver Broncos were willing to pay him,
you couldn't pay
but
him
they were overpaying
million.
him. And then this year there was no way he was going to get through the cap. I mean, it was just way too much.
As a Tennessee Titans fan, you have to acknowledge that you have Jeffrey Simmons, who is supposed to be a better version of this.
Yeah,
it's a business. We all have fan favorites. It hurts a lot whenever this happens. So now is the time if there were to be reuniting going on. This is when it should happen. Tack McKinley is a guy that I have always personally loved. The explosiveness, the athleticism, physicality.
Yeah.
But we have seen that in so few bursts lately.
Yeah, it's another highly drafted guy that kind of fell off. Has not been. Yeah, Clemson guy.
A lot of Clemson pass rushers that just don't hit.
Don't hit, man. It's crazy. We want to get through the next part. Let's rapid fire these last guys because I feel like they're all kind of older names that are worth mentioning, but they're gonna get some. They're gonna get some veteran contracts and see what they can do. Donkey Kong Sue, Sheldon Rankins, Kawan Short, Justin Houston. Wow, Justin Houston. Is he older? He's
old.
He's old now?
He's
okay.
old, man.
Olivier Vernon, who was originally a Dolphin. All
Older
those
vets,
interesting names.
They'll go somewhere.
Yeah, interesting names. I agree with all of those. Move on to
Look at how
linebackers.
short that linebacker list is. So there's a ton of them that I could have added on technically.
Yeah.
I only looked at it from a starter standpoint.
Yeah, that's all we're looking at.
And that's what it was, yeah. Levante David headlines this list, though, and it goes alongside of Shaq Barrett in saying that they need both of these guys. Yeah. But they need a lot of guys, and there's a lot of guys that have to get paid.
Yeah.
Where do you do it? Levante David breathes life into what Devin White can be.
And Devin White, I was watching an interview with Devin White talking about how he really hopes Levante David signs on. I hope he does too. Devin White is a top 5 linebacker in the league.
Yeah,
and
don't shy away from it. He's a star.
Yeah, Levante David used to be. And Levante David's still really, really good. To me, I didn't watching the Bucks defense. I didn't feel like Levante David fell off really. At 31, I'm the guy who's always like, old guy, get him out of here. Don't want to worry about it. But I didn't see the drop off that I feel like you almost always see from 31-year-old linebackers.
Man to man on Travis Kelce.
Exactly.
Shut him down a few times.
So I feel good about Levante David's talent over the next 2 years. Obviously, you're not looking at him as a long-term fix, but over the next 2 years, maybe he drops off next year. I don't know. But I don't see a huge drop-off coming in the immediate future. That's kind of how I feel about Levante David. I hope he stays with the Bucks just because I want to see the continued, maturation of Devin White, because I think Devin White, he one day could be, one of the best linebackers in the league and, an all-star.
I think having both of them there helps, though, because Devin White struggles sometimes in the run stuff game. He's getting way better on it with just getting that NFL size around him. But that's where Levante David is able to come in and take care of that B gap so Devin White can drop back and, watch that middle zone.
Absolutely agree. The rest of the guys on these on this list, it's not a great list.
No.
Matt Milano, Jayon Brown, KJ Wright, Alex Anzalone. All names. Alex Anzalone for the Saints, I didn't feel like played very good, at all. He
got thrown into that starter role, and
I just feel like he's aged out of his prime. I feel like Matt Milano struggled a lot with the Bills. I feel like this past year, or at least that Bills defense in general struggled. So Matt Milano may have been a bright spot that maybe I just overlooked because I looked at it as a whole. KJ Wright, unfortunate, but again, he's aged out of his prime, and we'll just see what he has left in the tank.
Yeah. That's your linebackers, man.
Yeah, I was like, do you want to say anything else? I gave my quick notes, but I don't have a whole lot. DBs, some interesting names.
You might want to scan the list while I'm talking because there's a lot of names that fall late on this list that aren't. It's not in any particular order. Yeah. Because there's some guys that are down there. I'll go ahead and talk about one of my personal favorites that has always just struggled with injuries is Keanu Neal.
Okay.
Keanu Neal is a great talent. He was a stud of a safety. And kind of giving me, I'll mention another safety who's a Pro Bowler starter right now that's kind of giving me the same vibe, sadly, is a Derwin James.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to say.
The best availability is, you just got to be available. You got to not be.
Best availability is availability.
As dumb as it is, I'm telling you, though, that's what wins games. Keanu Neal, you were a star player. I think you were 26 going on 27 years old.
Yeah.
But we have seen 2, maybe 3 years in a row where you have suffered. You haven't been able to finish a full season yet, and it hasn't been close. You've missed more games than you've played in these seasons.
Yeah.
I would like to see you be able to go somewhere and really get the job done. It's one of those guys that's kind of on a lower tier that I think is just down there, that hopefully you can get something done.
Yeah. Another name on that exact same note is Malik Hooker.
Yes.
This is a guy that came out of college, was supposed to be a stud safety, went to the Colts. I still believe in him. I feel like injuries has wrecked his career. I would love, again, I always look at free agency through the prism of my team. I think everybody does. That's a guy I would love to see go to the Dolphins on a cheap deal and see what he can do at the safety position. If he can stay healthy, he is a talent. I really believe in that.
High motor, a lot of energy. I'll cover some of the top safeties right here. We have Justin Simmons. I think if you were to rank offensive included in this list, a 1 through 10, Justin Simmons lands on this list. He is a true superstar at this position. I think at 26 years old especially, he could be the guy that just the name that we hear, like Earl Thomas was.
Yeah.
Like Eric Weddle was for so many years. Just the safety that is over a honey badger. Always there, a staple piece in your defense. Broncos, I think you need him, but I don't know if you're willing to pay that position because safeties are heavily interchangeable.
They're the running back of the defense.
Anthony Harris, 29 years old for the Vikings. That was a pick that we had for a long time, kind of kept close, and then finally let him loose. And I just don't know what we're going to be able to do. Vikings are having so many problems. Anthony Barr came out today and said that he is not willing to restructure his deal.
It's unfortunate.
I can't blame him because we were able to re-sway him over from a higher deal at the Jets, and then 1 year into that, it's like, hey, buddy, thanks for doing that, but can you kind of give some of that back now? I can't blame him. It's just the way that our hand was played. I think Anthony Harris, it's sad to say we're going to lose him. He is a true star at that position. Marcus Williams, 24 years old from the Saints, infamous for the Stephon Diggs helmet, weird dive tackle that he missed on, but he is a really, really good safety. Not in the same tier as Anthony Harris and Justin Simmons, but very talented.
So unfortunate for that play because that's what he's known for, but he's been a good safety, especially that first year. Second year fell off a little bit. I even feel like his third year last year was really, really good, or I guess 2 years ago.
Yeah, you can
either way, I feel like he's been a good safety for that team. That's definitely a big name. At 24 years old, like you said, big name. The corners on this list are interesting because I feel like there are a lot of older guys, and you just wonder how cornerback is the position where I'm like, if I see any kind of downward trend, I always jump off the bandwagon because the cornerback position it's so predicated on athleticism.
Yeah,
and
when it's gone, it goes.
It's off a cliff.
Unless you're Xavier Rhodes, who was on this list and had an amazing year last year.
He did.
And
Xavier Rhodes, I can honestly say, I feel like that's the only guy I've been truly wrong about after like feeling like he was done, it was over, and then he came back. Yeah, exactly.
We literally saw him line up week after week after week and get roasted by the ones, even the twos. And somehow he made the Pro Bowl that year?
Yeah.
Y'all got to change your fucking voting.
I don't know what happened. So
who's your favorite old head on the list?
Well, I want to mention one more because I just noticed one more safety, Marcus May,
of course,
who is the safety alongside Adams in New York for all those years. I think New York will keep Marcus May. He's a really good player who's drafted the same year as Adams, and like there's a lot of talent. I think he was drafted like the second round. It was 2 safeties in a row. He's been a really good player for them. Obviously not the superstar that we saw Adams be, but still really good. Be interesting to see what happens with him. As far as old heads or just corners in general on this list, I've always been partial to Ronald Darby. He's never been great, but he's always been like, serviceable. Gil Roby Coleman isn't that the guy who
he's the infamous Ram?
I was gonna say he's the Ram. I was just looking at names here. I was like, I know that
Patrick
name.
Peterson for me, bro. I know you don't like him. He is athletic, but it's the drop off.
Yeah, he's the perfect example of a guy that's like, he dropped off. So I'll let you talk about it.
Well, and Pat Peace claim to fame too, unlike Richard Sherman, who is also on this list, which a lot of people might take in that.
I'm out on that.
Is that I'm out on that as well. I think he can still go and be serviceable. Richard Sherman is a zone corner. He fits well into a zone scheme. Yeah. Pat P is a man-man, one-on-one, leave on an island guy, and I think he still has that same mentality. Why wouldn't he? I mean, why doubt yourself and your abilities? You're 31 years old. You still could have it going. Yeah. But when you do that, like Xavier Rhodes did, roads were open. Patrick Peterson, I hope that you have that ability. I want to see you go somewhere like I'd like to see you go to a Jacksonville. I'd like to see you go to an Atlanta, a team that really needs a corner too, because I don't want you to be the corner one. Yeah. I think you might still be capable of that, but why ask that of you?
Yeah. So I look at this list. There's no like legit, tier 1 cornerback on this list as far as in the NFL.
Just plug and play.
But there's 2 names that I look at as like very, very good cornerback 2s that could go to a team and be very, very good. Shaquille Griffin from the Seahawks, who's been the cornerback 1 on that team for a while and has struggled at times. I will 100% give that to him, but overall, very good player. And then Rashad Breeland from the Chiefs, another name where it's like, look, I get it, and I totally get what people are going to say on Rashad Breeland. He was asked to do so much. Like the amount of times he was on an island with no help and performed really well, I was always very, very impressed with Rashad Breeland. I actually think I'm higher on Rashad Breeland than other people, but I don't know. I feel
like he was set up for failure a lot,
and he performed well.
He did good more often than not.
Yes. So I mean, and again, also being on the Chiefs, where teams are throwing constantly, Rashad Breeland, I feel like. Look, struggled at times, again, I get it, but was put in very difficult situations in a scheme that was not like, cornerback, here you go, we're going to give you a very easy system to play. No, he had to play his heart out, and I feel like he did very well. Last name that I find interesting, this is just a guy that I liked coming out of college, and Garyon Connolly, who obviously he's been traded and he's been moved around. Younger guy that got hurt during the draft, season, falls down to like the back end of the first round, was considered a steal, gets traded to I was gonna say he got traded to the Texans from the Raiders, and we'll see what happens with him. He's a name for me that I could see going to the right situation and rebounding from his career. That was like my big thing on his.
I'm trying to think of where I want to go with mine. I like William Jackson III a lot. especially when it comes to
I missed that.
He is fast. He is young. He is talented. He could be
cornerback one guy. Yeah, that's a great
name.
name. That's a great name. I totally missed that one.
Desmond King is one, not cornerback one money.
Fuck you, Desmond King.
You don't like him.
No, I lost money on. I thought the Packers would beat the Bucks in the in the NFC Championship. Wrong about whatever, but Desmond King dropped the ball the entire game, so that was frustrating. Not just drop the ball.
No, you're thinking of Kevin.
Let everybody else drop the ball.
You're thinking of Kevin. You hate Kevin King.
Oh yeah.
Desmond King, Charger to the Titans mid-season.
Never mind.
All-pro special teams guy.
Right.
No,
my bad.
Listen, you want to get your... I'll give you... We're at 39 minutes. It's going to be a shorter pod than normal. Why do you hate Kevin King?
Kevin King? No, it's all right.
No, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
You got me last week, and I'm glad this happened. John, Kevin King don't like each other. No. Kevin King, you suck. Desmond King, serviceable.
Desmond King is serviceable. Kevin King dropped the ball in the NFC Championship. You're just trying to get me memed up. By the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, you can check out our TikTok where I have 2 amazing memes from last week's pod of Jacob getting very, very emotional about a couple different subjects.
Don't bring up Kirk Cousins. Don't bring up Cam Newton.
Yeah, Kevin King ain't gonna get me memed up. I'm not worried about that. I ain't worried about that. We'll move on. Anybody else you want to talk about here?
Chidobe Awuzie. I think he's a young corner. I think he probably needs to stay where he's at in Dallas, though.
Yeah.
Dallas is hurting desperately. They really need to dig deep into this list. Instead of going for one of these top older guys like a Sherm, like Patrick P., like someone like that, or I would rather go get A.J. Bouye, just a little bit on the outside of it, and then maybe pick up a Jason Verrett or a Ronald Darby as well.
Jason Verrett's another good name.
You could totally kind of rebuild your whole core, not really pop off the charts with it, but get serviceable above average across the board. Why are you laughing?
I'm just nothing. I'm good.
Was it Kevin King?
Yeah, no, I was just replaying the memes from last week in my head.
I'm a level-headed guy. Yeah, what can I say?
You are
level-headed.
No, but Jason Verrett, that's another good name to mention. A guy who got hurt constantly for the San Diego Chargers at the time.
Yep.
Finally, got healthy and was able to go to the 49ers and played, I feel like, pretty well this past year, especially at the beginning of the season. Did he get hurt or something? Something happened.
The whole team just derailed.
I was going to say, I feel like he dropped off at the end of the year, but I stopped watching the 49ers very closely near the middle of the season. So maybe he got hurt, maybe he didn't. I don't remember off the top of my head. But another name where I could see him getting paid, or if he's just all about health. The best availability is availability, right?
As dumb as it sounds.
I love it. All right. Are you good on defensive players?
Yeah.
All right. Let's real quick, because we have a little bit of time. Who do you expect to get tagged out of the guys we talked about?
Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett
should be tagged.
Now I've heard rumors of them tagging Godwin though, or Goodwin. Godwin. It's Godwin.
I think they can let Godwin walk.
I
know me and you differ. Well, okay, maybe not.
Then. No, I think they can from a team perspective. They have talent around.
In a system with Tom Brady in which they run,
they're going to be fine.
Godwin didn't pop like I thought he would pop.
Yep.
At times, so I would understand the move there. It is the younger the younger guy, the future more so. But I think Shaq Barrett on that defense, the defense is really what got the job done later in the year.
Yes,
and Brady was just able to be good playoff Brady.
Yeah.
When get the job done. Keep scrolling. No, actually, Justin Simmons.
Justin Simmons, that's another big name. Yeah, and I didn't realize he was on the list. I really didn't.
Yeah. Justin
Simmons is a really, really good player, guys. He's awesome. Another name I do think, I think I mentioned it, but Bud Dupree, I could see him getting tagged. I know he had the injury and that's going to hurt the possibility of him getting tagged. He's a really, really good player as well. We'll see what happens with Bud Dupree as far as
quarterback's head off.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt Moore?
Yeah, it was Matt Moore. So I mean, he's like I said, good player. I could see him getting tagged. I could see the injury taking that away from him. Maybe he signs a deal that's even less than what the tag would be. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think that's probably the extent of guys that are going to get tagged. There's not really anybody else that you would really say, we need to tag.
I would say offense has way more wow factor when it comes to some of these bigger names in there.
Maybe William Jackson. Maybe the Bengals are like, we need to hold on to him. I could see that happening.
I like William Jackson a lot.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Alexander is not on this list just because I put him so far down. He is also a member of the Bengals secondary, though.
Yeah.
They're going to have to figure out something if they, with Burrow coming back healthy and maybe you can lose Carl Lawson.
Alexander was hurt all year though last year, right? Yeah, he got hurt because he was from the Vikings that came in.
They also took Trey Waynes who got hurt too.
That's right. Yeah, they took all the Vikings corners and got them all hurt. All right, guys. I think that's it. I think that's all we got for this show. Hey, guys, thank you so much for watching. A little bit shorter show than normal, but hey, we're here. Guys, let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about next week. That's usually my outro for our draft profiles, so I don't know why I'm saying that now. Whatever, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Underdog Podcast for hosting us and all the things that you guys do for us. We really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who's watching, and if you're watching and you're not subscribed, guys, hit that subscribe button. We're a small channel, but we are growing rapidly. So be a part of the come up and help us grow a little bit, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.
Thank you, Seb.